Hello and welcome to a new review here on my channel. Today I want to talk about the Dead Space Remake, which was released on January the 27th, 2023 by Motive Studios. The 2023 Dead Space is the remake of the iconic horror classic Dead Space game by EA Redwood Shores, aka Visceral Games, which came out in 2008. While the original game is still impressive to this day, the devs of the remake did a fantastic job to create an even more impressive version of Dead Space. In case you haven't played the remake yet, or even don't know anything about the franchise, but very interested in horror and survival games, I've created this screenshot review to avoid spoilers and the possibility to enjoy the game in motion for yourself. I won't tell details about the story, so you can explore it for yourself. If you know the game already or don't care about scenes shown to you, I've linked a short teaser trailer of the game in the description. Dead Space is clearly inspired from movies like Event Horizon, Alien and, of course, The Thing, and shows contribution to these movies via design, gameplay and audio. The Dead Space remake is in its core a survival horror game, like the old Resident Evil games for example, just set in space. You have limited ammo and defense options, resource management and strong enemies, and you need to learn about your environment to survive. You can choose between several difficulties from very easy to hard, and there's even an impossible mode, which is basically the hard mode but limited to one life. You can compare that to a Iron Man mode, where your data gets erased if you fail and you have to start all over again. Even it's possible and seems not as hard as expected. I firstly failed and then completed the game on hard. As a player of the old games, I thought I could make it with ease, but I witnessed that you definitely will need some routine to the game. That means you need to know how the enemies behave and react, how to use the weapons and environment, and it's good to know what the game will hold up for you during the progress. Even there are much more harder games out there, a single mistake can be lethal and the game will punish your wrong decisions. I like this feature a lot. Fan service and details. The game is pure fan service to the original game. The devs built the game from scratch with complete new textures and lighting, and you will recognize a lot from the 2008 version, but also encounter some new stuff with expansions to the Dead Space universe. And of course there are a lot of details. You will witness a lot of things only in the environment alone. Now let's have a look on the technical side. Let's start with the visuals. The visuals are downright stunning and only a few things will not look incredible, but it's even barely noticeable. The textures are sharp and detailed and the lighting is fantastic. The game itself is pretty dark and due to the setting it has a dirty environment, which is great for a creepy horror game. Personally, I totally love the dark and adult tone of the game. Everything looks dirty and practical with a lot of details. The characters and enemies also look quite impressive. Even the main protagonist can't visually compete to the rip-off Callisto Protocol. But graphics are not everything, and for me the real Dead Space beats the wannabe Dead Space in every aspect except of graphics. If you think about that the game is only 36 gigabytes, the game looks stunning. The audio and sound design are phenomenal, like in the original game back then. The music will send you shivers up and down your spine and is creepy as hell. Some of the audio tracks reminded me heavily on the Alien franchise, which others are the equivalent of classical horror movies. Combined with weird and dark noises and the brutal screams of the enemies, you will definitely have a good time to be afraid of every corner. With headphones at night, this is for sure not for the scaredy cats, a true horror experience. I'm also a huge fan of ambient and environment noises, and Dead Space Remake has a lot of it. You will clearly hear a lot of things going on the ship itself and with the mechanics around you, but also note quiet voices and whining of the victims. The audio section of the developers did a fantastic job on this project. In space, no one can hear you scream. This is correct due to the definition by the laws of physics, but not for the Dead Space Remake. because others will obviously hear you scream. It doesn't matter if it's your family, friends or even your neighbors. You will scream and they will hear you. This game is so creepy. If you want to top this experience, then let your door open and wait until your pet sneaks around your feet. You can believe me, that creeps the hell out of you, especially if you play with the headphones. Now to the gameplay. Motive Studios managed to deliver you a game experience with the loved controls of the original in a modern state. While you have the similarities of the 2008 Dead Space, you will have a few additional features and even ones from the sequel, which delivers you a much better gameplay and controls. But you have also some small flaws where you have to learn strategies to get into it. For example, the melee combat. If you are reloading a weapon, for example, and an enemy approaches, you need to wait until the animation is over before you are able to attack. This mechanic is indeed outdated and will get you in some trouble situations or forces you to develop new fighting strategies. Not the end of the world, but this could have been solved better and more modern, because it really feels outdated. Everything else feels perfect, and especially the new vacuum sections and the zero gravity passages are a great improvement. The gunplay is fantastic and reminds on old school games, because every of your weapon and tools has an alternative fire mode. The weapons feel heavy and brutal and will cause a lot of damage on your foes. The most important fact of the Dead Space success is without a doubt the fantastic atmosphere. This game is a non-stop thriller and there are not many safe spots where you can really feel secure. The enemies are even able to attack you in the shop and forge or while you're looking on your map. Only the start button will give you a short break from the tension. This game is pure immersion all the time. You have no loading times, no HUD except of the devices on your spacesuit, which shows you your health and infos. If you hop into a session, you will be there with every fiber of your body. Incredible. Even I love the movies which Dead Space is referencing to. I even love the game more. This is perfect and pure interactive horror. Last but not least, the enemies. While the necromorphs are heavily inspired by the mutations from the Thing movie, which is a true classic on body horror, Dead Space will give you a good variety of enemies, from small to huge in different forms. The damage shown is of course much better now than in the original and cause layers of destruction. The first shot will harm the skin, for example, the next will reveal the bones and muscles before you rip off the limbs. Dismemberment is just brutal. The weapon and tool variety will give you a lot of possibilities to destroy the beasts. No matter if you burn, cut, rip off, tear off, microwave it or even peel off the skin. Gorehounds will have a good time here and have a nice set of tools to do so. But don't expect anything when you try to use the flamethrower in a vacuum like me. I love those details. I recommend Dead Space Remake to all horror fans with strong nerves and also gorehounds looking for a thrilling time. It doesn't matter if you are familiar with the originals or not, I think it will appeal you if you like games like this.